Thor.
Yeah. What'd you think?
Thor. It's honestly, it's also one of my lower tier Marvel movies.
Really?
Honestly. Yes.
I'm gonna say I actually one more time. I liked it.
Did you actually like it, or did you just like a little bit? Like pretend liked it?
No, I mean it's middle of the road for me for Marvel movies.
See,
I was very and I guess I kind of like the character Thor. I like the mythology behind it.
I like.
There's one aspect, and we both know the aspect I don't like.
Break it down.
It's the relationship in this movie is a joke,
Okay.
and it's an absolute joke.
It's a real problem for me as well. But
outside, if you minus relationship, I thought it was a pretty good.
See,
and it was an introduction to me. It was very much this felt similar to the Hulk to me in terms it was just like a real quick. This is the beginning story. This is how. This is where this character's coming from.
While I agree with you on that, the Hulk. See, Kenneth Branagh directed this movie, by the way.
I remember
it was a big deal because
it was big. But I remember when he signed on, it was like, this cast might be the best cast starting out of any of these origin movies. This probably has the best cast. Correct. From top to bottom?
It's so, honestly, it's hard looking back because it's like, at the time, I think yes, but now, probably not, right? Because, I mean, now, because
of the origin movies?
Of the origin movie, I don't know, Captain America has a lot of good people in it, as well.
Yeah, but think about this.
As far as
Rene Russo, Anthony Hopkins.
I know. But at the time,
Natalie Portman was coming off an Academy Award.
I know. But Chris Hemsworth was a nobody. So I guess to your point, it was like they spent their money on the supporting cast, which they did.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it was a stacked cast, especially for the time. And I wonder if a lot of that has to do
Skarsgård is
Stellan Skarsgård
is the doctor.
I think a lot of it also had to do with like we're going to work with Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
And while I'm sure it was also like, we have this plan, you're going to be in multiple movies, it was like, you're going to make a lot of money, but it was like, we're going to work with Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
And...
who didn't write this.
No, he didn't write it.
He just directed it.
And what's funny is, while he is a good director, in my personal opinion, like he did, like, he's done so many Shakespearean things, and I think that's why he was drawn to this movie. Was because
of the
mythology behind it, and the power dynamic between Loki and not Loki, but Odin and Thor, and then there's Loki that's kind of like to the side, causing trouble. It was very Shakespearean, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he was a little bit drawn to it. But his directing style, he has a lot of moments where his camera angles are canted, like they're tilted to the and I remember after rewatching it,
he's trying to do his best impression of Michael Bay.
No, he's not. This is much better than Michael Bay. You're wrong, sir. Okay, so
to me, he watched the first Transformers and he was like,
oh my god. I think you're intentionally pissing me off. Okay, Michael Bay's camera is just constantly moving, and it's never focused on it. Fuck Michael Bay. Okay, so Kenneth Branagh, his movies, not his movies, some of his shots when the camera's moving, but it'll be moving forward, but the camera's like rotating a lot, and some of his shots are like and not like a little bit of an angle, like an extreme angle, like a 45-degree angle.
Like Transformers.
No. It's honestly what Joss Whedon did a decent amount of in the Avengers, and you'll recognize it when we watch it.
You're right.
And I remember,
I'm just giving you a hard
I
time.
know you are, and you know how to really rile me up, and that you got my blood boiling. I don't appreciate it, but I remember watching the Avengers and thinking that stood out, and I guess I just forgot about that. Kenneth Branagh did that a ton in Thor, which it almost felt. I guess it's kind of comic bookish, because comic books sometimes do that where it's like at a weird angle and you'll see people, but that was something that stuck out. It was a distinct style.
It definitely was a distinct style.
Well, here's another.
And you said you didn't like a lot of the action in it.
I didn't think he directed the action well.
I mean, I didn't think there was a whole lot of action.
No, and that's what I was about to say. This was much more. it was introducing Thor and Loki.
Yeah.
First of all, we'll talk. Okay, the acting of Chris Hemsworth as Thor, he acted different in this one than he did. I haven't seen Thor.
It was a little more over the top.
It was. Well, he also hadn't had that developing as a character, because in this he was so overly confident and so like he just didn't know how to.
But again, like you said, that's probably part of. I mean, that is
the
way it was written.
I know, and I'm not saying that was a bad thing. It was just he did truly act different, and at points I almost thought
he was spoiled. He thought the world revolved around him.
But I was like, I think there were times I was like, he's not good.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, it's like, this is also Chris Hemsworth's first real leading role, and for him to, and it's not just like a small independent movie or a small movie. This was a multi-million-dollar movie that he's leading, and it's like, because I remember when he got cast, it was, because there was Chris Evans as Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Robert Downey had already done Iron Man. Mark Ruffalo was announced as the Hulk.
Not at this time.
Really?
Not at this time.
Yeah. This came out in 2011. The Avengers came out in 2012. They had to have, Kyle.
Right.
They had to have. They were already filming the Avengers. Unless it was like like they literally like, oh, by the way, like as the event.
But they didn't announce that until Comic-Con right before Avengers came out.
No, see, I think people knew though. I think people knew that.
But anyway, that's not the point.
These were established actors, but then for Thor, it was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And that
being said,
the first time I watched this, I remember being concerned because I was like, I don't know if this guy's going to be able to handle everyone else. Which, in the long run, he does. Chris Hemsworth, I love Chris Hemsworth as an actor, personally.
Yeah.
But in this movie, I didn't think he was that great. But the other actors, except for Natalie Portman, was so uninspired.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't want to be here. And that goes back to a major problem that I have with this movie was that it might be one of the most forced love stories I've ever seen in a movie.
It was completely
It was so unnecessary.
Unnecessary, and I don't understand. It was like 48 hours.
See and that's something I really don't believe in this movie. And it's so crazy to be like, I don't believe this is. It's totally unbelievable because, I mean, it's Thor. It's the story of Thor. Oh my god! So it's a comic book movie, but we're supposed to expect that Thor not only completely falls in love and is willing to risk his life for a woman he met less than 48 hours before. We're also supposed to understand that he completely changes as a person in 48 hours. I understand having a moment where it's like your whole world is turned upside down.
I thought if there was any sequence in this movie that showed time had passed, it would have made this movie.
Yeah, if this took place over the course of like a month,
yeah,
I'd be like, I'd be much more on board. I wouldn't have a problem with this at all. Like falling in love with someone,
yeah,
or like truly caring about someone. But it's like he only knew her for.
And it was a little more.
It was like 48. It might be 3 days.
I think it was 2 nights.
Because because there's the night he comes down. There's the night he tries to go and lift his hammer and
he's drunk with Skarsgård, which was a pretty funny scene.
Yeah,
yeah,
where Skarsgård gets hammered and Thor looks unaffected completely.
Yeah, but loves the fact that they were out drinking.
Yeah, he loved it. And yeah, that was a problem I had with this. It was just like this. It was just totally unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's something that for me made it from a pretty decent movie to just an okay movie. Because overall, it's not a bad movie.
Again, none of these Marvel movies are bad.
Yeah.
We've said this in every review.
But I think,
bad.
See, something that did stand out, and it does go to, it's more of like the style of the first Thor is pretty different from everything else. The set design in this is crazy, especially in what's Thor's world called?
Oh, God, Asgard.
Sorry. Apologies. So Asgard looked, it was like gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And it looked really completely different.
Hold on, I'm going to pause here for a second. We mentioned the great cast. Idris Elba's playing.
Yeah, here's the thing. We forgot about Idris. But it's because he is such a small part.
Yeah.
See, like...
But he's an important character.
Super important character. And he lasted, too.
Yeah.
Where, like Odin appears in the third one for a tiny bit, but he's also important. But Idris continues to play an important part because he is basically, he is able to transport anyone in Asgard anywhere.
Yeah.
I forgot what that's called, but he's super important, and he's very important for the ending of the movie, where he's willing to go against the king's wishes, aka Loki. First of all, the true bright spot of this movie was the introduction of Tom Hiddleston as Loki, and you immediately were just like, this guy crushes as Loki.
Yeah.
He is so
good. Had
good.
Warhorse come out at this time?
No.
Warhorse,
I think.
So this was his coming out party.
I mean, I'm sure. Listen, I mean, I believe he was in some kind of BBC stuff or smaller stuff. But yeah, this to the wider public, this was what people found out about Tom Hiddleston. Like maybe,
and he continues to crush Loki.
Yeah, throughout the whole Marvel. I mean, he. You know what's kind of cool, though? It was fun rewatching this, was how your introduction to Loki is he's a little timid. Yeah. And he's a little, he seems nice. But it's like you don't have the full understanding about Loki being the king, or
he's just taking it in.
It's mischief. That's just what Loki does. And he's constantly, going behind people's back, and he says one thing, but he truly has an ulterior motive to do it. And he is so... It was perfectly cast. I don't know who casted him as Loki, but from the get-go, he was perfect. And when you figure out that he's going to continue being a villain or an antagonist in these films, in the post-credit scene, that you're like... It was really relieving, because you're like, thank God, because he's so good. He's a villain that
and not only is he
you
good,
almost want to like.
Well, that's what makes him good.
Yes,
because Loki plays both sides like that, and the whole time you like Tom Hiddleston in that character, you want to see him on screen, and you're like, oh, he's not that bad, and then you're like, dang,
well, it's not, and it's because he doesn't really. It feels like he's doing stuff just because he wants to. There's not really a motive. I mean, you could argue he's wanting to not destroy Asgard, but it's him figuring out that he's not the true son of Odin, that he was an ice
giant.
Ice giant.
I was still really confused why he didn't grow.
I don't know. I didn't care because I was loving Tom Hiddleston. Thought he was great. See, and that, what's... Honestly, the best parts of this movie, for me, were the scenes in Asgard. I almost wish, the entire movie could take place in Asgard. Because those were, to me, the most interesting storylines and the most interesting characters. I really could not care less about Natalie Portman as Jane. I could not care less about Kat Dennings as... I mean, she was a comedic relief, and she had, maybe one or two kind of lines that made me kind of chuckle.
Yeah.
But at no point... They just weren't important.
Yeah.
At all. And it didn't feel pressing it was... everything I wanted to see was up in Asgard.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd seen more of it. But that's really a criticism of mine of this movie, was... There are several scenes in this movie when they're on Earth that I kind of just checked out. I was like, no.
I mean, but the best scene of them being on Earth is when he decides he's going to go get his hammer. And, of course, he fails at getting his hammer.
You're introduced to Hawkeye.
Yeah, you are introduced to Hawkeye.
I think, was that... Now, I do think that was... People did figure out Jeremy Renner was Hawkeye.
Yeah,
I don't think that was announced. I don't know. Maybe... Maybe
No, I think Jeremy Renner had been announced as being Hawkeye,
but no one knew he was going to be in Thor. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. It's been 8 years, guys. I'm sorry, but it's a little fuzzy. But are you talking about more of him going in and kicking everyone's ass, or is it after where he's having
kind of all of it? I like
I like the scene where he's talking to Agent Coulson, and he's
Loki
just and then Loki comes in, and Loki says that like Odin has died, but Odin hadn't died. Like,
well, see, it's that whole string of events for me. He goes, he decides he's gonna go, and then he gets caught, and then they go. That whole scene with Loki, and then he gets Skarsgård comes and gets him, and they go drinking, and it's like that whole element of Earth. But it was like none of that good time that was had, and they was with the girl. Like
you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's also sad because
also for the first half of their relationship on Earth, she thinks he's batshit crazy.
Yeah, and honestly, they still think he is. Even when now, I will say the best part of the movie is the end when Thor does sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
And while it was frustrating that you're like, why you wouldn't like that big of a change?
I was glad to see him get his hammer back
and in his power.
Yeah,
it was that moment where you're like, oh, he is the most powerful.
Thor has 3 of these moments throughout all of these,
and they're all wicked
movies. Yeah, this Thor Ragnarok
and
Infinity War has moments where you go,
he's
yeah,
so powerful.
He's a god.
He's
a god.
Yeah,
he's
a god. And that was extremely satisfying to watch.
Yeah.
When you watch that in Thor, it was because you have the scene earlier where it's before he has his whole change of heart, and they go to the land of the ice giants, and they create like this huge battle. But he's basically causing a strife between Asgardians and the ice giants, which they were supposed to be at peace, kind of. And Thor obviously just took that all away by being the braggadocious and just
that being
selfish.
Not
person.
really, because they did break in, but they were denying it at the time, and they didn't have proof.
To be fair, no one knew that it was Loki.
Yeah,
but it was all Loki's plan.
Yeah.
Loki, man, Loki's an awesome villain.
Yeah,
he is so and he's pretty well written, but he's also it's just expertly acted by Tom Hiddleston. He's so good. But no, it is. It was extremely satisfying to see. Like you saw his power on in the land of the ice giants, but like it felt like he hit another level at the end, and it's probably because it was like the big triumphant moment that he had truly earned the power of the hammer, and it was satisfying.
Of course, a little foreshadowing. He's not the god of hammers. Just so we know.
I know, dude. That's another thing, is that because since then obviously we've seen Thor Ragnarok or any performance that Thor has been in, and that's my point, is that at the time when I saw this movie and in this movie I don't think Chris Hemsworth's that good, but it's because I'm comparing him to other movies I've seen him in where I think he's really good.
Yeah, and
I almost wonder if that's just how the character was written, and I'm sure it is.
Much,
but overall, honestly, Thor. It still feels unique.
Again, all these Phase 1 movies did, and I really like that about the Phase 1 movies.
See, I agree.
I like,
but they also strangely none of them are amazing, except for, I would argue Iron Man, but none of them are. All the rest of them are like solid at best for me.
I really like the first Avengers, and I think I've said that a couple times.
That's true, and I definitely do need to rewatch the first Avengers, which I'm very much looking forward to. But I think all these Phase 1s for me, I think at the time they were fun because it was like
it's new.
Well, it was new, and it was like Marvel's doing this.
Yeah, they're going in. They're going to introduce all the characters. Exactly. We're going to have the Avengers movies. I remember thinking, oh my god, they made 4 movies, and they're connecting them. They're going to connect them.
And then to think that
we are 21 movies
there's
deep
21
now,
of these things.
And they're still going strong. It's not going to end at Endgame.
No, it's not. No, you think they're...
And they've like scratched the surface of the characters. There's how many? We're gonna have to look this up. And we'll put it right here. How many characters are in the Marvel universe?
They have an unlimited supply of material.
Yeah, and if they run out, especially now that they've got X-Men,
yeah,
and the Fantastic Four, like there's so much they can do.
My point is, I think though this, while it's not a bad movie. It's better than Iron Man 2, I think.
Oh no, it's definitely
thinking about it, yeah. Because of it did at least feel somewhat original. It was nice to be introduced to all these characters, especially Loki.
Yeah.
Like the first one, I remember walking out of the first one thinking, "Oh, Loki definitely to me stole the show."
I remember going into this movie, and I was really excited that Natalie Portman was going to be in this. Because I was
like, be pissed about what happened.
Because
she's a stud actress. She is so good in almost everything she does. And then in this, you could tell. It almost felt like she signed up for something and then realized, oh, I don't want to sign up for all of this. And it was just like, I'm...
And again, we don't know for sure. I think we should touch more on it when we do. We will touch more on what happened in Thor 2 with what happened with that relationship. And...
But she was really a dull spot in this movie, and she did her job.
Yeah.
Like she did.
She read the line.
She was she wasn't horrible, but she was not good. But plain and simple. And it's. I mean, she's an excellent actress. I've seen her in so many other things where she crushes.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, I think. This movie, if I had to give it like an A to F scale, I probably would give this like a C+. Personally, now I think you.
I was gonna say I'll say B minus.
Okay.
I'll say B minus.
And
I mean, it's not like by no means is it in the upper tier, but I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than the Hulk. I enjoyed it more than
that begs
Iron Man 2.
Yes, I will say I actually liked it more in Iron Man 2 because of what I said, is where it at least felt more original. Iron Man 2, I was more pissed off because it felt like a complete cash grab, and we talked about that. But The Incredible Hulk is much more entertaining.
The Hulk is a cool character.
Well, no, it's not. In the Hulk, the movie zooms by, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it like I was...
You know what? I think when I just gave the grade there, I'm pretty sure I gave the Hulk a higher grade than...
Did you? I probably did. Yeah,
I think I gave the Hulk a B. Like, just...
See, I think... I don't remember, but I thought I gave the Hulk like a B minus. Because the Hulk still has flaws.
Yeah.
But overall, I think... Yeah, I would give this a C+. I think... as far as a movie that I would want to sit down and watch, the Hulk, I would probably want to prefer to watch. It's a little more entertaining. Where Thor...
I'm going to need time to think about it, but right now I'm giving Thor...
Thor feels long, and it's because there's not a whole lot of action.
Really? See, for me, Thor...
Interesting. Thor felt long for me.
It is. This is a B minus B movie. B minus, solid B.
I'd say C+.
To me, it's in that area. I think part of it for me is that I do like just the character.
I like I
love
love the Norse mythology.
Yeah.
But I almost wish they dove a little bit more into that.
I do.
But I understand why they didn't. Like I don't think that the world audience wanted to just watch.
This was supposed to be your
it was
vehicle to introduce Thor.
Yeah. And that means it did its job.
Yeah.
It did exactly what it needed to do. But it had its flaws, to which I was, there was something that...
And by no means is it a perfect movie, and by no means is it one of the...
It wasn't awful. It was watchable for me. But that's all I'll say about that.